We're alive. We're actually still here. I know a lot of people last week were thinking, oh my God, they've disappeared. Someone's gotten them. They know too much. But no, we're still here. We're back for another exciting Who report. I'm Nick. I'm here with the main man, Aaron. How you doing, Aaron?
Good. I heard that you were all in lockdown last week studying for this massive sci-fi trivia night put on by Dags and MPS.
Yes, we were. Many a Doctor Who question, thank God, which was awesome, and they were about all I knew. But that's okay. We're going to dive straight into it because after 2 weeks away, we have so much to talk about because there's actually stuff happening. So here we go. The Web of Fear. Let's see what's been going around the grounds. Well, it looks like we're starting with Millie Gibson. What is going on with Millie Gibson's Instagram?
Hi, Greg. Good to see you, mate. Well, as you said, we are always putting on the cutting edge and the best news and all the most amazing things about Doctor Who on the internet. And last week, I had to say it was probably Millie Gibson's Instagram feed where she was just posting pictures of herself around LA. She was over there for Gallifrey, but managed to share some other photos. And the best thing is, when it came up, like in LA, that bikini shot wasn't there, but that came up in her feed as lower down. So I thought I'd just add that for the viewers too. What do you think? What do you think about her pictures, Nick?
Fantastic, Aaron. Absolutely fantastic. Well, we can see on the previous slide, she was at Gallifrey 1, which it's called. She obviously got her nails painted with a few classic Doctor Who characters. She had a great time. She met a lot of other companions that used to be on the show. I know Freema was there and they had a bit of fun together. It'd be really cool to see her continue on in some capacity in Doctor Who, but as they always say, once you've been on Doctor Who, you're stuck in it. So I think she'll be doing these conventions for a very, very long time.
So our friend Edwin went, and it was good to see he got his nails done too.
Fantastic. Well, Billy Gibson's obviously, we're moving on from that. So we've now got the exciting news of speculation of where the heck are we going to be seeing Doctor Who, when or if or how or whatever it comes back to our screens. And it looks like there's been some rumors about HBO.
Yeah, because we're at 2 weeks behind. I hear a bit of stuff through different contacts and share it, and some of the stuff I hear I don't believe, and then some of it breaks from other places. But there's sort of a sort of a background in Doctor Who at the moment. Like maybe things aren't going as well behind the scenes. Maybe we aren't going to get the Christmas special filmed when we thought we would. Maybe people who they thought were going to be in it aren't actually in it. Maybe the deals they were doing with services, sorry, screening services and platforms that fell through, they're having another go at and another round at. And all that's been sort of percolating online the last 2 weeks. Have you read much of this stuff, Nick?
Yeah, it seems HBO is sort of everyone's prime pick for Doctor Who, which is really interesting because obviously HBO Max is very well known and has been very well known for many years to be one that doesn't shy away from the violence and nudity aspects of television. So it would be very interesting to see if they did get a US partner and they did go with HBO and gave them full rights to do whatever they wanted. And it was a United States show instead of a United Kingdom show, whether we would be seeing a Game of Thrones esque Doctor Who, where we're looking at a lot more adult oriented television program.
I think they'd probably be dumb to go down that track where it wasn't a family show. I mean, look how well received stuff that Disney did, like Space Babies, was. Um, HBO probably wouldn't make stuff like that, so we'd be missing that. That last thing was talking about the BBC have confirmed they don't know what's happening, who they're going with yet, and they haven't announced anything beyond the Christmas special. One of the things I might have discussed with you, I was talking to someone else about, was they might be hand tied at the moment what they can say because they haven't fulfilled the Disney obligations because Disney hasn't shown the land between the war and the sea, and that could be one of the reasons why everything's held up. Disney could be playing with them on purpose, because I do believe they put it in their trailer last year and it was meant to be out February this year, and February's come and gone and there's no sign of it at all. So maybe, if Disney could be, we're taking a piece off the board for everyone. We're never showing the Land Between the War and the Sea. That's it for Doctor Who.
Yeah, well, if anyone doesn't know, it is already out on DVD and Blu-ray over in the UK. You can pick up your copy from Amazon Australia, Zavi, Rare Waves, anything like that. So if you're dying to watch the spin-off, it is very easy to get yourself a copy of it now without using means that are less than legal. But yeah, maybe that is what Disney's playing at. I don't know. Are they really holding something that fans want? Not really. Everyone who kind of already wanted to watch it has watched it, and the reviews were, okay. So I don't think anyone's really dying to see it here in Australia. I know that a few American fans are really wanting it over there, but it'll be interesting to see where Disney goes.
Yeah.
Well, next up, we have here some really cool Dalek stuff that you've put up. Some books that I personally don't have because I don't think they exist.
Well, it's one of those things where, hey, we report on everything, and these caught my eye just because they were artwork that is really evocative of the different franchises that they're lampooning. So I don't know if you're a famous Five fan or Asterix or indeed Tintin, but it's just one of those things where obviously these are AI, but a lot of AI is now that sort of super realistic stuff that kind of hits on the uncanny valley. This is the kind of stuff I think AI does really well because it's not trying to be super hyper realistic and more evocative of a different time of artwork. I thought these came out quite good.
Yeah, they look awesome. I think Scaro's spelt incorrectly, but other than that, yeah, they look awesome. I would love to read the Tintin one. I'd love to see Snowy go up against a Dalek.
Yeah.
But whether maybe this is where Doctor Who needs to go from now on. Yep, Greg's picked it. Makes no sense, but maybe this is where Doctor Who should go. Do you reckon they should move into some spin-offs?
I think I think the IPs would be too hard to do. That's the often mentioned Scarrow that I sometimes mispronounce. So they were off the Daily Dalek on Facebook. If anyone wants to follow them or find more stuff like that.
No, they look really cool. Well, a bit of a scoop that we had 2 weeks ago that we discussed that has now sort of popped up as real is that we're possibly not going to be getting this filmed until September, even though obviously it's a Christmas special and that's only 3 months before. Yeah, tell us about this.
So some of the behind the scenes stuff I was hearing is the production isn't going as smoothly as they thought. That they were thinking they would be filming early in the new year or up till February, and that hasn't happened. And I was even thinking, well, maybe it's going to go in the too hard basket, and they'll say we just can't do it at the moment, and we're going to have a rest until we get a new streaming partner. But apparently, one of the other things I heard, because Billy Piper's tied up till August filming Wednesday, which I think we mentioned 2 weeks ago. That the production may have been halted till September. So there's a pause on everything at the moment. And if they film in September, that's cutting it really fine. It isn't the latest a Christmas special has been filmed. I don't know if it will be in 4K if they're filming it at that time, because the effects take a long time to render. And then totally different from what any information I've heard. It's come up on a couple of places, a list of BBC Christmas Day programming, and it does list the Doctor Who Christmas special, and they've named it World War Dalek, which I don't know if it's a throw to World War Z, but those who really know their zombies and Daleks, the zombie, the guy that wrote World War Z before that wrote a book called I think it was the Zombie Pocket Book: How to Survive as a Zombie Holocaust. And then Doctor Who wrote the Dalek Pocketbook, how to survive that. So going from that to World War Z, World War D, had heard they were looking at doing the Daleks in the Christmas special when Ncuti was still the Doctor, because he hadn't come up against the Daleks yet. So I don't know if that's the same story. I don't see the one I heard, which was Daleks on a council estate, being exactly World War D. But who knows? So it looks like there is still stuff happening behind the scenes. There's different conflicting rumours and leaks of different things that are happening in the production, with various actors in and out and various times of when it's going to be filmed. So it'll be interesting seeing what happens in the next couple of months, if indeed anything happens till September.
Yeah, well, you've got obviously Wednesday filming, and that's Netflix. That will be a lot more of an ironclad contract than I think the BBC will have given Billie Piper when she did her tiny cameo at the end of the last series of Doctor Who, because they don't have Disney backing at this point. So I doubt she'll be getting out of the Netflix, the clause of the Netflix contract anytime soon. So September it is, I guess. That's going to be one absolutely rushed production. It'll be interesting to see if we end up getting any use of AI in the episode to finish off the effects. That would definitely put a bit of a spin to the industry, especially it being such a British production, and where they use a lot of people on shore and a lot of artists. So do you think that could possibly be the case?
I don't know. It probably will be. I know they usually finalize that last, because so many people work on that. That's when they start leaking plots and stuff that's happening in major action sequences. Not always, but sometimes. The other thing that came up on the the other World War Dag, surviving a double feature
Yeah.
of Battle Beyond. Well, it's actually more surviving a double 3D feature of the Day of the Doctor and what's the other one?
Dark Water
Dark Water,
/ Death in Heaven.
which is on the cards. But
Yes.
we'll talk about
Fingers
that
crossed
later.
that's coming up soon. I know Dags is really looking forward to it. There's nothing
Yeah,
more than he loves than a bit of Docky Who coming out of the screen.
just before we end the Web of Fear, another thing popped up on the official BBC site, and that was from the desk of Shirley, who's the scientific advisor, actually released a kind of synopsis of what happened to Rose and how it's been 20 years since she disappeared, which would sort of imply to me that they're getting people prepped of her coming back from the alternate universe rather being the Doctor. That's just total speculation, though.
No, I agree. It set everyone into a lot of articles going, oh my God, she's not playing the Doctor. Like everyone kind of knew that from the beginning. But anyway, it is very interesting that they're really leading into this unit website that they'd created for War Between the Land and the Sea that no one really looked at before the show. And now that they've put this up, it's probably got a heap more hits than I think they had ever expected.
You say everybody knew that. By that, we mean the 24 viewers of our show.
Yeah. Well, moving on from the Web of Fear, we're going into the wonderful world of Who-tube. And Aaron, you've picked out some stuff today in Who-tube to do with commercials from around the world.
Yeah, I don't know if we're opening with the video, because sometimes we have trouble with the copyright. So either Dags will play the video or it'll be
No,
silent.
we're opening with the video. We are opening with the video. Let's do it.
Through 20 years of eternity and 5 regenerations, Doctor Who survives. In celebration of the event, a special anniversary magazine. It features all the Doctors, their companions, and their foes. The Doctor Who 20th Anniversary Special, $4.95. Available at the ABC shops, all good bookshops, and newsagents.
So that was the first advert for Doctor Who that I ever recorded. That was played straight after the 5 Doctors, and that was the day we got a video recorder so we could record Doctor Who, because I wasn't going to miss the 5 Doctors because I couldn't watch it live. Yes, but today's episode of Who-tube is looking at various adverts on YouTube. And I think we're going to do 2 parts. The first one's going to look at the classic series, and the second one will probably look at the modern series. Now, for people who buy the DVDs, you've probably seen a lot of these, but what I've talked about with WhoTube is how YouTube is like this repository of all this amazing information, and you can find stuff instantly before you can find it anywhere else. I don't know if you have an encyclopedic memory of what are all the extras on the different Doctor Who DVDs, but sometimes it's actually much faster just hopping on YouTube and find where someone's ripped one off and put it online than trying to look through all the backs to see what's listed on them. And Doctor Who advertising is amazing. They had colour ads for Doctor Who before Doctor Who was actually being shown in colour. And this is a Troughton era one for the Skyray ice lollies. And look at the amazing way they get around not having Patrick Troughton filming the ad. He just covers his face with his hands the whole time and waves around his recorder. And, you know, as a kid, you'd have got away with that, and you'd have probably thought, I saw Doctor Who in colour and have all these memories of the Daleks. Interestingly, it would have been one of the first times kids had seen the Daleks in colour in the 60s that weren't the movie versions, the BBC ones. So I guess some colour photos come out in the comic books sometimes, but it would have confirmed probably the first time on film that Daleks blues are ball. Sorry, Dalek's balls are blue, proving that Scarrow must be pretty cold. So, are you aware of this ad?
I'm not. I love how they did this with Patrick Troughton and yet couldn't replicate that absolute magic when they did Colin Baker to Sylvester McCoy. But I guess things were just done better in the 60s. I'm going to have to look up that ad in full. That looks really, really fun. I really loved the ABC shop ad that we just showed. I personally miss the ABC shops. I think they were awesome. I was big into them around the Matt Smith era of Doctor Who. So, yeah, really cool to see that Australia was still repping the Doctor Who brand all the way back in the 80s as well.
We've got people watching as well, like Russell, who have particularly good archives of stuff like this, which not other people were recording at the time. Now, here's another one. I don't think it has appeared on any of the DVDs. It's actually for Pally Toys, and I've just taken the ad and taken the Doctor Who parts out of it because it was for the Batmobile, a police car, ambulance, and a Dalek. So all of them were press button, and they had sound. And at the time, the Pally Toys Talking Dalek was probably the most accurate Dalek toy they'd ever released. It was better than the Dennis Fisher one, and it was better than the 60s one. And it was in accurate colours too. As we see, Daleks, we know, have blue balls.
What year was this ad?
So I think all the ads I took from one channel that had put them together, and it says under the main picture it's from 1975. So pretty early. I was only 2 years old when that came out. I can't believe my parents didn't get me that for my second birthday. What crap parents.
Oh, I can't believe it. That is just ridiculous. Well, that's really cool. What's the next ad we've got here? Which I think is showing a figure that we might have shown in the last Who report.
Well, this is the Dennis Fisher line that I just spoke about, which has like a Dalek that's just like the wrong shape. It's okay. This is probably up to the point the biggest range of Doctor Who figures that weren't just Daleks. Tom Baker was popular enough that he got an action figure made of him, and the companion at the time was Leela. So you had Leela in the line, and then probably an average Dalek, a really average Cyberman with a nose, but the best figure obviously is the K1 robot, the giant robot, which is an absolute classic 70s toy, and a lot of collectors beyond Doctor Who collectors will collect the robot just because it's such a unique design and it's such a unique toy. So this one is always one of the most expensive and harder ones to find. The Dalek is probably the most expensive one in the range though, because Doctor Who fans have this thing for Daleks. They also produced the TARDIS, and the line didn't die in a year. So a little bit later, they released a K9 as well. And I don't know if I've ever told you the story of the K9. It was the last one I needed, and I bought a mint boxed one online. and it turned up, and I was so excited I couldn't wait to get inside to open it and look at it at a table. So I opened it at the car, and it was mint boxed, and I turned it up to take the flap off, and as I did that, it slipped out the bottom, turned over, hit the ground, and the ears broke off. And I'd been looking for one for years that had undamaged ears. So don't open your collectibles in the car on the way home.
Well, I'm still scarred from the last monster-sized toy fair here in Melbourne, where myself and a number of other people from your store, Aaron's Collectibles, proceeded to walk around the entire convention, buy a heap of stuff for ourselves, and completely miss the K1 robot, which is what you would have bought if you had been there, and then someone else bought it and told you it had been there, and you were not very pleased.
Yeah, every single person goes to these things and says, "Oh, if we see any interesting Doctor Who, I will I'll send you pictures." None of you did. Simple Simon's video review on the event had a picture of it. She did put the doll on top of the Christmas tree. I think her mother bought it for her and made a fairy costume for it, actually, to put on the Christmas tree. But that is one of the famous stories that, yeah, she loved it so much it was on her Christmas tree for many years.
That is super cool. Well, here we've got something super Australian, or Weetabix, I believe, is the New Zealand version, as our good friend Edwin had to teach me when I went over to his house and saw a Weetabix box and went, well, that's clearly fake. It's Weet-Bix. So explain to us this advert.
So these are the Weetabix cards, and it's the Weetabix promo. Weetabix did really well in the UK, and they had Doctor Who tie-ins for a number of years. This is the one that the advert exists for. I, being British, always knew Weet-Bix as Weetabix. That's how my parents pronounced them to me. I don't know if Weetabix made it to Australia, and I just remember that from my hazy youth, or it was just Weet-Bix here. One of the things you'll freak you out if you know the jingle, Aussie kids are Weet-Bix kids. You go to New Zealand and they have the same
Kiwi
jingle.
kids.
Aussie kids are Kiwi kids. But we're not talking about either of our pathetic non-Doctor Who producing breakfast cereals. The British ones were great because they had amazing artwork on them, and then they had a series of figures, and the figures you got in sets of 3, so you could join them together in like a diorama, or you could split them open and use the base, use the name plaque that was around them as the base, so they all stood up. And they are one of the nicer sets of cards and one of the nicer adverts. There's a red Dalek there, never really appeared in the show though.
Yeah, until obviously Victory to the Daleks, where back in the 40s they were eating their Weetabix back then. So we'll move on to the next advert, which we've got here, more Daleks. Explain what is going on here.
Now this is my favorite ad at all. Well, this will get the whole this whole show cancelled when we put this one on. This is an advert for cigars, and can you believe it that the premise of the ad is a Dalek bursts into a warehouse to exterminate the people there and hits stairs, so can't go up the stairs. So what does the Dalek do? It has a smoko, and the little area between the sink plunger and the exterminator opens up, and a tiny robot hand comes out with a cigar, and then the exterminator, as you can see, lights the cigar in that first picture, and then the Dalek uses that little hand to put up through the grill around its neck, and then has a good puff. And it's an ad for, is it Hamilton Cigars? I know it's one of the British brands, but can you imagine like Doctor Who being used as a cigarette ad now? Maybe vapes.
I'm so easily led that would have gotten me smoking. That is absolutely terrible. At least we know why the Dalek had the claw hand at the beginning of the Russell T Davies era. He really needed a smoko.
Well, now we know why the Daleks talk like that, because they like 60 packs a day smokers.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Oh wow. Okay, that I think is a good way to end off the Who Tube. I'm definitely going to be watching that full advert later. I'm surprised that's even up online. Um, but we're now moving into a segment that a lot of people love, and that is the destruction of time. Um, Hopefully, there's some good news. I don't know. Aaron, what's been happening in the last 2 weeks? Have we found something?
Well, they confirmed they found stuff last year. I don't know if it's public yet, but I'm hearing it's 3 episodes. I'm hearing they're all Hartnells. I'm hearing we're probably looking at Reign of Terror, possibly both Reign of Terror missing episodes and a Savages episode. But who knows? That's just going around on the I guess on the gossip grapevine that I'm sort of in with, but I don't know on that one yet. I've also been told
I
by a lot of people, anyone who says they know doesn't know because nobody knows this time.
There you go. If it is an episode of Savages, that is both sad and hilarious because obviously the full animation just came out because they never thought they'd get it back. But fingers crossed for both Reign of Terrors, because then that means all we're missing is Marco Polo. And Unearthly Child, obviously, doesn't exist anymore because of the rights issues.
Fun factoid, the Flintstones were sponsored by Winston cigarettes in the US, and they used to have a little cartoon of them smoking ads. You can actually look up Barney and Fred, talking about how smooth they are and how great cigarettes are. And I think
Well, look,
even
if you keep getting locked out of your house, you've got to have a smoke, I guess, is what's going on in the ad.
yeah, even the Simpsons have sent that up. But today, the destruction of time, we're looking at another way that the episodes have been brought back, not the originals, but the animations. And there's obviously too many to look at all in one show. So we're going to look at some of the earlier ones, or some of the, I guess, the landmark ones. The animations have always been controversial. It started off probably with the best one, which was the invasion. And that was because Cosgrove Hall, who were the ones who were commissioned to do it, were a professional firm who had been working with animation for a long time. And I think the remit to them was make it as close to the original episode as they could, and try not to change anything. Us being Doctor Who fans, we nitpicked in every single thing that wasn't exactly right. Um, they brought up, and surprisingly, it's a Cyberman episode. But the Cybermen were pretty much not in the first 4 episodes of the invasion. So when they did the BBC advert for this, that's the most animation of the Cybermen for the episode. It pretty much was just like a couple of tiny clips that they animated. If we go to the next slide, it does show some of the pictures from that. And what I did think was amazing, they were so accurate to the original. When I haven't got a picture of it, when the girls were climbing up the helicopter, they did flash their knickers, which is a sort of thing that happened a lot in the 60s episode. So that's basically, I think, about the only shot of the Cybermen that came out, because they basically burst out of the pod at the end of episode 4 and the invasion begins. Cheers, folk. Patrick, here's my favourite Doctor too. And even people who have other Doctors as their favourite, and I don't like this, I don't like that. Never name check Patrick, because all his performances are so amazing. But it's good that we got this one back, and it was the start of what we thought the floodgates opening and every single animation being done. But they were so expensive at the time, that wasn't what happened, and we didn't. Even this was quite well received and did quite well. We didn't get like the animation every couple of months that we hoped we would. We're still in the position 20 years later where we still haven't got all the episodes animated because of the cost of doing it.
Yeah, well, the next one that we've got here is one that I really loved the animation of, and that's Reign of Terror. There was just something about this animation that just really worked. I think, it's so odd going back and watching these ones compared to the newer ones, because it almost feels like the Invasion and Reign of Terror are the new ones, that they've been building to this amazing art style and and detail and everything. But no, it's the other way around. They've almost devolved.
Well, it is an interesting thing. When Reign of Terror came out, it wasn't very well received. And I don't know if that was because the story, being a historical, isn't as popular as maybe a science fiction one. And I do remember thinking, oh, the direction in it was a bit off. But the thing was, it set a high house style. The animation was all downhill after Invasion and Reign. I don't agree with that. I think the Cyberman stories are really good, but a lot of the other ones aren't. And the thing is, I wish the BBC had stayed to a house style, because after Reign of Terror, they did kind of try and do this, but the style changed. And for us collectors, we like everything to kind of look the same. And when they start later down the track having different animation, it's been, criticized as being like pugwash because the arms and seem too long and move and things like that. Sometimes it's one of those things, we don't appreciate what we were getting when we got it. And then CGI and AI is going to be a major impact on going forward as well.
Well, the next animation that we've got here thankfully ended up getting a redo because, yeah, my God, what was this?
So this was done for the 50th anniversary of Patrick Troughton. A team got together and said they could animate all of Power of the Daleks for a budget price, because everyone said they could never do a full story because the amount it cost to do was never going to be covered by the sales they would get for it. And this was heralded as quite a big event. I went and saw this in the cinema, and I have to say, I nearly fell asleep, which is crazy for my favourite show. So they did Power of the Daleks as a special event, and I think it works because of the strength of the story, not so much the strength of the animation. So we're in the position, this is crazy, where there's 3 different ways to watch Power. So this is the original release still. When they originally released it, they did it in black and white and they did it in color. And the only reason they could afford to do it in color is because BBC America put money in, basically because Americans, they said, wouldn't watch it in black and white. So they needed a hook, and it was color. So the first version of it came in black and white, color. And then a couple of years later, the original animators weren't happy with it because it was rushed, and we got a special edition. So they brought it out again, where they changed some of the animation, they added to the animation, they sort of added shading, and they changed some of the costumes, I think, that had got wrong the first time. And so there's this really bizarre thing that's happened where we don't even have the original of this story, and there's 3 different versions to choose from, fully animated, to watch over different discs, released a couple of years apart, the special edition.
No, definitely. I think we've got some comparisons here because obviously we've got the 2016 black and white, 2016 color, and then in 2020 they only released it in black and white, which I know was a bit controversial in itself, considering all the other releases around that time they did in both black and white and color. And then obviously we've got the original, which we just have via telesnaps these days. Tell us a bit about the comparison.
Well, opposite from what you said, I actually liked the original edition better than the special edition. If you look at the top, the blacks and whites were much more well defined in the original edition. In the later edition, I can understand it looks probably much more like the broadcast, where the picture is softer, and indeed you can see that between the comparison. It is a clip on the left bottom there, sorry, on the right bottom there, where Power of the Daleks, that clip does exist. So you can see out of all the clips, the special edition from 2020 looks the most like that. I like the style of the animation, and by making it look less like the animation, I didn't like the special edition as much. I've probably watched Power of the Daleks, I think, once the original in the cinema, once at home, colour twice, and the special edition once. And if I was going to watch it again, this will probably shock people, I'd probably watch the colour version.
Well, there you go. There you go. Obviously, we've got some other shots here, like how they changed Troughton's look,
Yes.
how they changed some of the Dalek shots as well. looking very sleep deprived in the 2016
Yes.
version of Troughton.
So they obviously totally changed the basic look of all the characters, and that was one of the issues people complained about. They weren't as expressive and they were a little harsh looking. I would have liked the new models of the figures with the old contrast with the black and white, because I felt the new version made them look a little bit washed out. For me, I think the likenesses are a lot better in the special edition, but the artistic vision is better in the original. And if you look at that there, yes, the special edition has a much more naturalistic looking Patrick Troughton, but even in the Dalek scene, where they've sort of all they've really done is made it look, I guess, washed out. I like the darker look. I thought it suited the story better because it made the dark scenes with the Daleks creepier.
Fair enough, fair enough. And Russell here has pretty much summed up uh, every fan reaction to Doctor Who recently. And that is, in the 21st century, pretty much it's rubbish for the first decade, and then it's classic, much better now than what they've been doing for the next 10 years, which I think is what everyone is talking about at the moment. Obviously, the last few we've had were Celestial Toymaker and Savages, which were both savaged on online reviews quite deeply.
Yeah, we will look at them probably next week, because we go more into the line. The Celestial Toymaker and I think the Web of Fear was particularly savage because of the CG AI versions. So this is what I was saying. I think the Cybermen stories were done really well. This is the 10th Planet. And 10th Planet 4, I think, is one of the best of the animations they've ever done. I can watch that. And indeed, I can watch all of the ones we've discussed and feel like that I've actually watched the episode, even though they're animated. They do give a really good representation of how these things would be if they come back. This has been particularly proven by when there is clips from them, how close they are and how close they are to the telesnaps. And people do tend to complain when they drift away from how the original look was, and I think that's why Celestial Toymaker cops it so badly, because they tried to do something too different from what it was. So the 10th Planet was a good one. Have you watched that one?
Yes, I really love this animation style. You know, it's the same as what they did with Reign of Terror. It's pretty much what they did with Invasion as well, but I really enjoy this style. It's very late 90s, early 2000s vibe of the the way they've got the shading, the way they've got the blacks and whites contrasting. And obviously it was only one episode because they had the other three, so they could afford to animate it that way, versus Power of the Daleks, where you had to animate multiple episodes to get a whole story.
Yeah. And so the other one, apart from 10th Planet, was the Moon Base, again, which I thought was really good. I think if you put all the Cybermen stories together with the animation, they're quite a good collection. The episodes always make me feel like I've watched them. The Moon Base is interesting because there's 2 existing episodes and 2 animated episodes. And if you watch it as a whole story, for me, it really doesn't jar. You can just watch it straight through. There were a couple of different teams doing the animations, and some of them had different styles. I wish all of them had been in this style.
Yeah, agreed. Well, up next, we've got my personal favorite segment, which is Mastering eBay. What has the master got in store for us this week?
Oh, wonderful items. The first one is more one of those interesting items because I didn't know it existed, and once in a while something pops up you've never seen before. Now, when I think it was Sky UK TV in Australia was showing Doctor Who episodes for the first time on, I think, a cable service, they did a lot of promo for Doctor Who, and I've had some of the postcards before and some of them I've never had, and one turned up this week that I had never seen, and that is the Sontaran one up the top, the pink postcard. So even that's a relatively modern piece of merchandise. I mean, we're talking about something from the 90s, so 30 years old now. There's still stuff turning up that was probably released as promo on the local market here in Australia that a lot of people have never seen and never got. And these postcards used to turn up in weird places. I don't know if you remember, there would be just free postcards around Melbourne that you could get a postcard, it had advertised something, and because you got it for free, it was kind of one of those things you could go around and choose the ones you wanted and collect. Usually they were pretty crap. There were some good ones, and I remember picking up one of the Sky ones there. I don't know where else they were available, to be honest. So no wonder like unusual new ones that no one's seen before turn up once in a while.
Yeah, all I can think is maybe like TV Week or something like that might have had them slipped inside. Like you occasionally get the pull-out mail-away stuff. I don't know, but they are pretty cool cards and something that probably a lot of postcard collectors overseas have never seen or are unaware of because they are Australian.
Yeah, it's one of those things which is local, and there are a lot of postcard collectors. I don't know, maybe you were given random postcards when you subscribe to the service as well, or something like that. Would be interesting to know if anyone in the comments is got one when they originally came out. Like I said, I picked up one for free. I didn't even know till the internet came along that there were other ones. If you remember getting any, let us know where they were from.
Yeah, please do. It's sort of probably a piece of Australian history that might possibly be lost if it's not documented online. So it'd be really cool to yeah, get an idea of where they came from and where one could have found them back in the day. Well,
Yeah.
next up, we've got some books, some Target books, which are something that we've talked about a lot on the show, something that is very well loved in the Doctor Who collecting community because they are so easily accessible for anyone from such a young age. And why is it that some of these books are ranging from bargain prices up to pretty collectible items?
Well, the master is showing us one of those patterns that happens on eBay sometimes. You can see that these books, you can get them, buy it now, reasonably priced, under $20, which even $10. So Aaron's Collectibles, all our Target books are $5, doesn't matter what the title is. But what will happen, you'll get people where they look at what stuff's gone for to get an idea to list their own items. And if you're listing stuff, you're usually on the greedy side, so you look for the highest they've gone for. And what you'll see here, there was a hardback sold, and the hardback sold for $192, and it looks almost exactly like the paperbacks from the listings in the auctions. And if you've got someone who's not a Doctor Who fan and doesn't know the difference between hardbacks and paperbacks, they will look at the completed auctions and go, oh, these are going for like one sold for 190. If I put one up for like 100 or 150, it'll sell really fast. And occasionally I've messaged these people and go, why is this special? Why have you got 150 on this? And they go, you don't know what you're talking about. Like if you look at completed items, they go for this much. And then I'll point out, no, you've sort of looked at a hardback and the one you're selling is a paperback. So if you ever look at books and there is an anomaly on the price of paperbacks, trust me, you can always get the paperbacks for a reasonable price. Even the really rare ones, you'll be able to get them for a reasonable price. So just because someone sold a hardback and it spikes the price of the paperbacks, just keep looking because one will turn up again that's under $20.
Yeah, well, that's some great advice. Obviously, the paperbacks are a lot more collectible than, or easier to find than the hardbacks, which are a lot more collectible than the paperbacks. We've got an exciting comment here from Jonathan, who says in the late 90s, in a fashionable New South Wales Newcastle cafe called Goldberg's, they had a selection of UK TV postcards. All right, so we're getting some ground on where these postcards came from.
Yeah. Jonathan, do you remember if they had all of the postcards available or just one? Because I remember getting one. I think it was the Axos one. and I remember seeing it for free, but they had other shows there, not just that. And I just took the Doctor Who one. So I don't know if they had one wave where they put the Doctor Who one out, or they had a lot of different ones come out at the same time. I presume over the year as a promotion, they probably were on those free postcard stands. Were they free? Did Jonathan say if they were free, or did you have to buy them?
Well, as we wait for him to hopefully reply, we'll move on to the next mastering bargain basement area, which is always cool because who doesn't love a bargain? Looks like we've got, are these magnets or badges?
These are badges. So some of these are quite collectible. There's some in this lot that you just never see. It's interesting with this lot. They were released in Australia, and some of them seem to be popular ones and turn up all the time. Obviously, there's one there that's not from the same set, the orange square one on the end, but all the Tom Baker ones came out at the same time. And that seems to be all the different variants in one auction. And I remember when I was really collecting hardcore, I thought I had 6 of them, and that was about the set, because even some of the ones that are different are very, very similar to each other. So that was an amazing one to get, mainly for the price, because if you break that up per item, it's only a couple of dollars each for 70s and early 80s badges, which you're doing pretty well if you can get auction like that still.
Yeah, that is really cool. I wonder if it was someone in the local community that picked that up. Probably not. I'm assuming someone overseas probably snagged that bargain. But it looks like Jonathan has gotten back to us. He said here the tube map and Day of the Daleks was all they had when he stumbled upon them, but they were all free. So yeah, maybe they were handouts.
I remember them being free. I do remember when UK TV was pushing it in the 90s, you could go to like Melbourne Central and there were like tables there and people handing out stuff for free, but I never remember seeing any Doctor Who ones at sort of any of those events. So uniquely Australian set of cards that's fun to collect, and who knows how many there are. You know, it's likely more will turn up at some point.
Yeah, well, hopefully there's at least one of each out there existing, and one day maybe someone will be crazy enough to put together a whole list of them. Well, up next, we've got a lot more modern stuff. You've got some recent records here, and these are some crazy prices. Explain why we're looking at 1,200 AUD for a Doctor Who season 9 set.
I don't know. I do generally think that one's sold for that amount. They've said sealed and comes with the outer packaging and all like that. So maybe because they've put a little bit more description and a little bit more for a collector to buy it. But these steel books are just going higher and higher. That I think is the most I've ever seen that one go for. And if you look at the steel book compared to the regular edition is, you know, $1,200 cheaper. But even that's an expensive for the regular edition, because I've seen this one go for about $19. And if you look down the bottom there, you can get them under $20 each if you don't want to have the Blu-ray edition and you're just looking for. I do think it worries some fans when they see this, that the Doctor Who stuff is becoming unattainable. They sold these hundreds of thousands of them. The Blu-rays are limited, the steel books, but you can, again, just use the patience thing. If you can't find what you're looking for at a reasonable price, move on to a different series, because the one will turn up eventually at a reasonable price. We get them through at Aaron's Collectibles, and I sell the full sets for $19 each, because they do come through just in about every collection. So... yeah,
well, looks like Shane's
it
popped this up here. It was the first modern series steelbook to be released, which is quite interesting.
It was the first in that that format. There was the Matt Smith one that had the crack on Blu-ray, I think, from a couple of years earlier, which has no value at all. I do not know why the earlier steelbooks. We had some steelbooks in the shop. The Dalek one and the Cyber collection. We had the one with Amy's crack, and none of them went for, anything like crazy prices. I put like $29 on them, but that wasn't because I'm underselling them. That was like looking at the prices online. So it is just for these new series ones that they go for that much.
Yeah, well, look, the classic standard Series 9 Blu-ray, you can still grab at JB Hi-Fi for like $40.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you really, really, really want it on Blu-ray, you can still get it brand new, not Steelbook. It's okay. It still exists.
Yeah.
Well, next up, we've got the wonderful William Hartnell in your Time Lord archives. Tell us
So
about this history.
this is pulled deep from the Time Lord archives, right next to the ones on the Doomsday Weapon. We've got the early cast cards, and these are some of my favourite things to look at and collect. And this is one that turned up recently and sold for £2,000, and it even has scribbles on the back. I'm pretty sure that isn't the mad writings of William Hartnell. I think that's probably the fan who got it, and I think that's amazing. And it's good to see that stuff from the very, very first years of Doctor Who still turns up and has held such an amazing value, which brings us on to the next slide, which is another amazing one. William Hartnell managed to sign this DVD 30 years after he died, so it must be much rarer than a signed cast card, but someone has actually advertised a signed William Hartnell DVD on the Daleks box set, and all I can say is that truly proves that he was a Time Lord.
Yes, this has been making the rounds on the internet over the last couple of days. The Facebook comments are absolutely hilarious, considering, yes, unfortunately, William Hartnell did pass away about 30 years before the first DVD was manufactured. So it looks like whoever decides to pick this up is going to be in for a very interesting surprise when they do a little bit of research.
Yeah, Russell, one of those things I avoid is buying things like that that are made to be collectible. So the collectability isn't in that people want them. The collectability is in that there's a small run. So that's absolutely fine for people who like to buy stuff like that. And that's one of the things that happens with steelbooks. But I don't actually see the value in something that's been made to be collectible. I would rather put my money into something that I tracked down from 50 years ago. I think there are collectors that do that, and there are collectors that have to have every steelbook and every new release limited edition that comes out, and that's absolutely fine. But I do think at the end of the day, it's the age and the item being from a different era that appeals to me personally.
Yeah, but just think how amazing it'll be when one day they dig up a landfill of all those sweet, sweet Doctor Who steelbooks, and they're all
What,
of
the
a sudden even
Jodie
rarer.
Whittaker ones?
Yeah, probably. They did not sell very well at all. Um, Well, the Master has left us for another week, going to troll the interwebs for more bargains. And we're going to be talking about something super exciting that happened not the weekend just past, but one before. And that was that we had the absolutely wonderful Louise Jameson come into your shop and have a chat with us, absolutely crazy Doctor Who nerds.
Yeah, so this was probably the reason we didn't do the show last week, because the weekend was just too busy for me to put it together with Nick. But here is just a brief rundown of the day. With our friends from the Sirens of Time, we've managed to snag all of their guests to do a shop signing for us, mainly because we're just friends, and in fandom it's really good to be able to help out each other like that. And this time we had Louise Jameson in the shop, and whenever we have a shop event like this, especially with a Doctor Who guest doing signings, chaos ensues. And you can see this is the street just before we opened. You've got a blockbusting crowd down the street. They're either there for us or the dentist or maybe the Thai massage place, but most of them come and get an autograph. You've got Daleks spontaneously turning up, and you've got people wondering what the hell is going on. People beeping at the line and asking what's going on. Usually Dags is the doorman, and he has a really good control and the flow of people come through. But the whole day for me is absolutely crazy.
Yeah, well, we did have Daleks turning up. The dentist had not seen lines like this since last Halloween. No cavities to be filled, though. It was a lot of fun. She came in, she asked for a cup of tea. I proceeded to go next door, and they were petrified because they'd never had a British person want a cup of tea before. And we all know that the Brits love their tea. But she did love it. She thought it was fabulous. But yeah, we had a lot of fun. She was there for just over an hour, signing stuff for everyone who came along. And we've got some photos in here of some of the wonderful Aaron's Collectibles family.
Yep. So the one on the under the Who's Who thing is the staff, and me and Nick are there, and a couple of the other staff. Louise looked fabulous in red, probably our best dressed guest to come up, and she sat and talked to every single fan, didn't hurry anyone on. In fact, seemed to engage and have a really nice chat with everyone, which is really lovely for a guest to do. And she genuinely really is a lovely person who did engage with everyone and was interested in what they had to say, and was totally professional about just being so lovely and being at the event. And then there's a picture with me and my son as well. That's a really rare family picture for the shop, because both my wife and son do not like the shop, and have been in there maybe 4 times since we've opened 5 years ago.
Yes. Guy, it was a wonderful day. It was so nice to meet you in person.
Guy, I've got some photos I sent him. Guy just turned up to use the massage Thai thing, and it was just a Doctor Who event that day. So he came in and met us and got an autograph too. So it was a double header for him. And then that night, she actually performed her one-person show, Shakespeare's Mistress. It was at our Pride of Footscray, a gay bar. So Nick knew where it was and was able to take me to the best seats. And we had a fantastic night there as well, where she put on her one-man play with the other guests that came along with her too. So it was a really full-on day. And then that continued the next day, where she did the convention for Sirens of Audio.
Yeah, it was an awesome night to see her do her show, which was the first time I think she performed it outside of the UK, if I'm not mistaken. So to have that experience and to see her perform that was really something special, and was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so an amazing event, amazing Doctor Who week, lots of stuff in the news, lots of cool stuff happening. So anyone involved with the shop or the orbit of the shop, it's just been a crazy couple of weeks.
Yeah, I was a very tired Doctor Who fan by the end of it. Yes, we've got the Soul Greg King here. Yes, Louise was absolutely lovely. She was just so down to earth, and yes, it was a great afternoon. Thank you to Aaron for organising it.
I did love when we did our WhoTube and looked at Doctor Who adverts. The little boy was actually Greg King in all of those, buying like Weetabix and playing with his Dennis Fish. And he's been around on the scene for a long time.
No, that is very, very cool. Well, we've kind of come to the end, right? Pretty much bang on time. We're at 58 minutes and 24 seconds, according to my countdown clock. So we're going to quickly show off the store. Aaron, you've got to give it a bit of a plug. What's going on? What's new? What's happening down at Shop 31 Main Street? What
kind of plug? We have a lot of Lego coming in at the moment. I spent the whole day making all of our Lego condensed into half the space, because we had a massive Star Wars Lego collection come in. I know I have a hard job building and displaying Star Wars Lego, but the crazy thing about that, we often get a collection and it sort of comes in waves. And we just found out today we've got another big Lego collection coming in, which is a bit of everything during the week. So this week, if you're particularly a Lego fan and a Star Wars fan, may be good to come in on the weekend. But apart from that, we got some really amazing Black Series helmets for Star Wars fans, a Vader and a Boba Fett, and we also got a really nice lightsaber. So there's been a lot of good general stock coming in. We are overstocked. Come and buy something to help me out.
or because Aaron absolutely loves it. Come and sell some stuff. That's exactly what he needs right now.
Shut up.
uh, no, well done. Well, I believe that brings us to the end of the slides, or have we got something else in store?
I think that's it. Thanks
That's
for being
it.
with us tonight, guys. Hopefully we'll see you next week. Hopefully by then there'll be less missing episodes.
Fingers crossed. Either that, or we'll know what's happening with the Christmas special. I will keep my fingers crossed for the missing episodes. I think it's probably what we're all looking more forward to. But yes, thank you everyone for tuning in. Hopefully there won't be a hiatus next week. I'll make sure Aaron gets those slides ready, slaving away behind the computer over the next week. Thank you all for joining us. And we will see you tomorrow night. Dags and I will be reviewing last week's episode of Starfleet Academy. So that is it for now. Have a great night, everyone.
I'm slaving away.